My greatest concern, both as a soldier who serves in the Army Reserve, a veteran for over 20 years and multiple deployments to different war zones, is how short-sighted, incompetent, and lack of caring that the Biden-Harris administration has for our own national security and the American people. What they are doing here now appears to be not well thought out at all, or considering what the ramifications of this will be and how it serves our national security interests, just like they didn't think through what the ramifications would be of taking the Houthis off of the terrorist list a few years ago, just like they didn't consider the ramifications of giving Iran over $6 billion, much of which is going not to the well-being and humanitarian interests of the Iranian people, as they were promised, but to fund these terrorist groups like the Houthis to do exactly what they are doing, threatening global commerce and peace. We have a Secretary of Defense who is hospitalized for 5 days, and the White House, leaders in the Pentagon, the National Security Council, the president himself had no idea. It's hard to convey this frustration, both as an American, but also as a soldier. How is this even possible, coming from our leaders in the Pentagon and the President of the United States, who already turned off the lights for the night, even as our military is taking action overseas? So we should all be very concerned right now about the consequences of such a short-sighted administration who undermines our national security at every turn in the decisions that they are making overseas, but also in the decisions that they're making here at home. And you talked a little bit about this before. Tens of thousands or thousands and tens of thousands of people are streaming across our borders into our country with no vetting whatsoever. And we know that that includes people who are terrorists who seek to do harm to the American people right here at home.
Tulsi, I want to read a quote from Richard Goldberg. He's a former NSC official under Trump, saying that the key for military action in Yemen is to respond in a way that doesn't lead to a never-ending tit-for-tat. That's been the administration's approach in Syria and in Iraq, and it has failed. Now, Tulsi, that does seem to be the most frightening aspect of what's happened tonight. 3 months ago, when Israel was so brutally attacked and innocents killed and raped and maimed, it was at that point that our commander-in-chief had to make it very clear that any attack or escalation of this is going to be met with severe and immediate military response, and consulting with Congress at the time. That was not done. There was kind of comments here and there. John Kirby came out a lot. But again, this administration seems much more interested in demonizing Donald Trump and pursuing him legally than it does in reassuring the American public and having a clear and concise, frankly, foreign policy.
You're exactly right, Laura. There's no doubt in my mind that the actions that are being taken right now will not increase our national security or the safety and well-being of our troops who are deployed overseas right now, nor will it have the consequence of stopping these attacks by the Houthis. In fact, the opposite is true, just as they stated, and we don't only have to trust their words, we look at their actions. It will increase and escalate their attacks on our interests and on our troops who are in the region, many of whom are very, very soft targets in those surrounding countries. So the administration hasn't done the basic analysis to say, hey, do our troops need to be in these areas? Do we need to be exposing them to this risk and harm? Conduct that analysis, that cost risk analysis, to decide where our interests, how are we protecting them, and stop trying to undermine our own democracy, as you pointed out, right here at home, as they are willing to pull out all stops just to protect their own power. Their priorities have been screwed up from day one. The Biden-Harris administration, it has only gotten worse ever since. And now we are at great risk of this action potentially unintentionally escalating into a larger conflict that we become mired in, where many, many more lives are lost and many more of our taxpayer dollars are unnecessarily spent.